up, everybody? I'm going to go ahead and ignore this, but your boy Siphon from Siphon TC. And guys, this is my kind of start of the season present to the Control Dash community, and maybe just the wider community if you guys want to see some in-depth gameplay of how to play a controlled pivot to mid-range deck into the current format. Obviously, Dash does attack on a slightly different axis than the other control/mid-range deck because of its use of weapons, and it's a really good ability to block, but I do think that even non-Dash players definitely will be able to learn something from this. And this is going to be in the Art of War style. For those who know what Art of War is, obviously, welcome back. I know it's been a while. But for those who don't know what Art of War is a gameplay review series. We review high-level matches, or we review a person's POV of a match. We go play by play, and we break down the higher axis of Flesh and Blood. But today we have something a little special. Unlike most, we actually have 3 matches in this one. This is going to be a little bit of a long one, so go ahead and strap in. So the first game that we have is going to be Control Dash versus Dawnblade Dorinthia. The second one that we have is going to be Full Item Dash versus Icelander. And then the last one will be Only Chamber Fatigue Dash. And I wanted to have every single version of Dash in here. Well, primarily versus Dorinthia. It will actually be more of a mid-range deck. You'll be mid-range with her. Versus Icelander, you are racing, unfortunately, against Icelander. You do have the ability to take over late game, but obviously, Icelander being another good late game deck, it does get kind of weird there. And lastly, we have Azalea, where you are the control deck, you are the fatigue deck. You are trying to run the Azalea out of threats. So starting with the first matchup, we will go ahead and go through sideboarding. I don't have all of my sideboarding available on my deck yet, but hopefully by the time you guys see this, maybe not, I don't 100% know yet, you guys will have a full sideboard guide. But for you guys to see here, we have our 63 base cards that we take in to the majority of matchups, because the majority of matchups will be the gun plan. We're adding in an Oasis Respite and 3 Sigils. The reason why we're adding Sigils is because, number one, going first, Sigils are really good, especially if you open them. Because if you just get to start the game at 43, you're kind of just winning, right? As well as this gets around Dorinthia's effect of Reprise and Dorinthia's effect of Dominate. Same thing with the Oasis here. The Oasis here is just to get around certain Dominate turns, obviously, unless we're paying into our equipment and or tunic. Oasis isn't the highest priority thing. This is something I am freely just pitching until the situation becomes right, because again, unless there's no Dominate, using 2 cards, one of them being Oasis Respite, just to block a Dawnblade is just not good enough. But let's go ahead and get into the first game. Now this game is going to probably be the most hilarious one. I will go into you guys that ahead of time. Unfortunately, this player was not prepared. So first thing you want to do, you want to identify some objectives, and you want to look at the equipment. So obviously we see very centered equipment setup. We see the Iron Song Versus, so this is, for the most part in my opinion, trying to be a little bit more mid-rangey and make the first one a little more, the average Dawnblade turn a little bit better. Because the issue with Brave Force Bracers is you get the same amount of block, but unless you're the aggro deck and you're able to force hits, the Brave Force Bracers really doesn't do anything. It just sits there and becomes a +3 health. Where this is still +3 health, but it also has the thing that says, hey, if you don't block me enough, I'm going to get extra value. And that +1 can just start accruing like crazy. It is something that you definitely need to watch out for. Obviously, we know they're going to be encouraged, not going to be on Tunic. There's no reason for them to be on Tunic. Obviously, with the Great Axe build going around, seeing Dawnblade is surprising, only because the popularity of the Great Axe build is just massive. So obviously we are running our standard equipment setup. There's no reason to use any other equipment here. Because we are going first, looking at our opening hand, we actually have a very powerful opening hand. We have a few options here. It also depends on what role we want to take in the game. Because I think I can actually run them out of threats. I do have the option of actually counter, shoot the pistol, give it go again, counter on pistol, swing fighting spirit. I'll still be able to keep that purifier. What this does is obviously mills cards out of the opponent's hand. I will possibly lose some value on the fighting spirit, but we're also getting a 2-block yellow out of our deck, so obviously it's not the worst. Obviously, if we want to play the very safe route, we can put a counter on pistol, play the purifier, guarantee that we have at least 2 blues in our next hand because of how blue heavy our deck is, and we have a really good attack in our arsenal if we're playing a very slow game. Me personally, by the way, this was, I think, exactly 1 day ago. That's funny. Almost like exactly 24 hours. 25 hours. That's really funny. But me personally, right? Because I really don't know, even if they're an aggressive or anything, like I said, this is the assumption I make if I'm seeing this. But because I technically don't know what the Dory is on, and the Dory is a very flexible hero, pause. I don't hate just putting counter here, put a counter here, play the Purifier, because the Purifier is just guaranteed value. Where, like, there's a world where we just don't get enough value out of doing all this. Once, obviously, the game starts going on, then we can start looking for more, like, plays. But here, we can just be very patient. Again, if we wanted to get rid of some of the Dory's cards, we do have the option of pistoling into Fighting Spirit and Arsenal the Purifier. But here, yet again, like I said, I believe I choose to just take the very safe, consistent route. We do obviously lose some value off of turn 1, but here we gain a little bit better of an arsenal because depending on how much we are forced to block on this turn, we have access to pistol plus Fighting Spirit, which is 8, especially if we're lower, that's 9 points of value. It's pretty insane. Going into our turn, I know you guys can't see it, I do apologize, I don't know how I get this bar to move, but we have 3 blues, the blues really don't matter what they are, and we have red immovable, and we have a Fighting Spirit and Arsenal. So there's a very high likelihood that our movable is really good here. I honestly don't mind even taking damage just to unmovable, because on the following turn, if we're lower than them, we can load our pistol up, shoot our pistol, it can even be boosted, and then we can Fighting Spirit for a very, very nice turn. Our opponent does give the thing Dominate. That's fine. Like I said, I prefer to probably only use the immovable anyway. I play the Warrior's Valor. I believe it's skiing plus 3 right now, if I recall correctly. Plus 4, I'm sorry. So we get to line up our movable exactly, and this is and you guys are going to see it in like a second. And boom. So I kind of wanted just to show you guys that this is people need to grow up. People need to grow up. I'm not going to start a witch hunt on this person. Don't, like, attack him or anything, but, like, I play an immovable and you quit. Come on. Like, yes, my stuff lined up against you, but how oftentimes do Dories get to line up against other people? Like, come on now. Like, let's grow up a little bit, guys. So, after that, obviously I don't have my mic on, but I'm cackling in the background. I guarantee it. So I believe the next one is Icelander. Alright. Hello? Alright, hold on. There we go. Oh, there we go. So this I actually do already have a sideboard plan there. Obviously we are just putting in Remembrance, Sigils, and Oasis. Taking out a D-Rex, even though Bullander is the more popular version, The issue is these DRX are red, and I want to trim as many useless reds as possible. And even though there is a chance, there's a world where these become really sick, possibly than these. I'd rather play a bit more of a value game with the cards I already have in deck, and not add cards to dilute my average turn. Because they're not going to be saying an actual attack every turn, and the turns where they like just peek me, I mean if they speak me, then these are fine. But these are cards I want to see and then be able to immediately use. And it's not guaranteed against Icelander, and I don't want cards stuck in my hand for no reason. So we are going first, thankfully. And we'll try to back up. Alright, so what to look for when it comes to the Icelander is a big thing that we're looking for is we want to see what arm piece that they're choosing to run, because a lot of times it will dictate how they want to play the matchup, even though it is exactly one thing. Because obviously we're not presenting any extra arcane damage, obviously they're running to it because that part's obvious. But if we were like a Viscera, they'd probably running Node, also because they don't want to AB2 each rune chant. I mean, they'd be on Constellus, but just bear with me for a second. They get more value out of their Node, right? But here, the +1 that they would get from their Node, even if they play 2 spells and know they're 2 spells, they're adding +2 damage to their thing, right? So if we give them like the highest probable damage turn without like Icy Eternal, we can have 3 coming from the Arsenal, 3 coming from the Waning Moon, most likely 5 here. So this one actually becomes 4. This becomes 6. So this right here changes a tapped out kill turn from 11 damage to 13 damage. So obviously that's just obvious because you're just adding 2. But because of how turn cycles play out, this literally could actually mean a whole entire turn cycle, weirdly enough, depending on how much chip damage the Icelander is able to get without the match. 2 damage can literally mean the game. This makes their actual turn-to-turn damage even more important. They really want to get value out of that node, just because it gives them extra reach, because they're actually just losing this block. Now, because we are playing dash, even like regular dash, right? We don't have a lot of on hits, so the only time like this would be super useful against like boost dash is like a courier for like 6 or something, or like 4. They can give a card plus this, and it covers it up. Or if they have like a 2 block, it helps out there, right? Against us, it doesn't really do much because we're not running any actual on hits with our pistols, and like our on hits are like Command and Conquer and Sensor, which they're probably not no longer on Sensor. Sensor is like mildly okay because like the issue is like more often times not the card they're fusing with. They're either going to pitch your Winning Moon or they're going to play in response to the Sensor, so Sensor hitting is not doing anything. It's just here to be 5 damage for 1 resource. But like here, like this can help with certain hands with Command and Conquer, not every hand with Command and Conquer. I think it helps enough to where obviously it's warranted. And like if I was going in Stash, not even knowing what verse on, I would probably also bring Gauntlet. With that being said, that means they're probably going to be more defensive and try to be more of a mid-range game plan rather than racist. I think if they're on no, they'd probably find it take a little bit more damage per few turn cycles just to get to that reach where the node becomes super powerful. But obviously the inverse can also be said if the Ice Center wants to actually be more defensive to really give that node the extra effect of health that they're losing out by playing more defensive. You can see both sides of the coin there, and it kind of depends on how the Icelander thinks, but thinking about the average Icelander, they're probably going to be a little more aggressive with node. The Gauntlet means they're going to be a little more defensive, so I shouldn't be surprised to see some D-Rex here. I mean, they're going to play D-Rex no matter what, versus like Dash, but you shouldn't be surprised to see a good amount of D-Rex. Probably just Sinks. I don't know if all Icelanders are on Fates right now. I am trying out Fate in my Icelander deck. Going back and forth with it. I don't 100% know if I like it. But I know that was just a long intro to the first turn, but now we actually get to talk about what we can do. So obviously, because we're going first and we have no chance of disruption, looking at our hand's not resource rich. Our fighting spirit's also not going to be turned on because they start less than us. The Command and Conquer doesn't actually do anything either. The sensor probably won't hit, but let's just say in a weird world where they just like their hand, they just take all the damage. We're blind calling, and there's a large chance we just get it wrong. All right. Another thing we have to look at to inform our decision is they have 58 cards left after they just drew 4. So that means they have 62 cards. Right? So we're actually running less cards than them. We're running 3 less cards. 4 less cards than them. So there is the issue. So not that we can get fatigued, but it's just actually fatiguing them is going to be a little harder if we don't forcibly strip cards out of their hand at very inopportune times. One other big thing, this is going to be the last thing before I actually talk about my turn, is so the big way for them to win and what we need to stop to do, our game plan, is to either win before they get like 2+ chills out. Because like 1 is like fine, 3 is just like you were the main character type stuff. But 2 chills is very average. We want to try to win before they get 2. 2 is like the magical number where they're taxing us for 4 resources before anything else happens. And a lot of times that's obviously just going to be 2 cards from hand, especially if we have a hand like this. That's just bop these 2 cards, but we don't have any floating. So we either need to get them to block a lot, which is going to be hard, or we need to just kill them before they can establish enough chills, or we just need them to have enough awkward hands. Obviously, the last thing is completely out of control. Okay, so going into our hand, we have a lot of options. A lot of them aren't good, to be honest. Realistically, like, arsenaling one of these 3 is obviously is clearly obvious. Now, which one would I personally do? I'd probably choose the Command and Conquer, just because their chance of having direct is. So I don't know the percent chance, but because they haven't lost any, they could have a non-zero amount of D-Rex in any possible hand until we see some go to the graveyard, or we see some pitched. So keeping this Command and Conquer wouldn't be too bad, especially because if we can keep a resource on one of these, we can pitch a blue. We can swing, go this, pitch a blue, put a counter on pistol, Command and Conquer, which is like really good resource-wise. It's 8 damage, pretty much for a blue. That's really high in value. The Fighting Spirit on the opening hand isn't great because, again, they're already less than us. It'd literally just be 6 damage, no vanilla, and again, Sensor really isn't doing much. So prioritizing this Command and Conquer is the smartest thing to do. I know it's a very, very long intro, but when I tell you guys I'm in love with this deck, and I really just wish I was allowed to play it more, because you already see the first game, and you'll see in the third game what my opponents think about the deck. Okay. Okay, for some reason I'm frozen. Alright, what's my this timestamp? 2:43. Alright, hey, you literally say none of this. You say none of this. By the way, I hope you guys enjoyed the deck tech before the video. Alright, back at it again. Alright, there we go. So, okay, so we're pitching the Sensor. That's fine if we're just getting it out of hand. Okay. Okay, so the only thing I can assume by me pitching the Command and Conquer is either A, at the time, I'm not considering their D-Reacts. Imagine that says D-Reacts, I know it says XL, but don't ask me how a D and an R turn into an X and L. You just don't want to know. Even I'm not considering their D-Reacts, or because I assume their own Bull Lander, they're probably able to send enough damage to get us lower. depending on how I choose to block. Maybe I might even choose to take additional damage just to turn the Fighting Spirit on, but that's basically just not a good trade for us. I definitely think pitching the Fighting Spirit is just more correct here. And we choose not to actually throw anything. Um, this is also weird that we don't throw anything here. I also must have not have looked at their deck count. Again, not that we're going to win through fatigue, but us just sitting back doing nothing doesn't do anything. Now, if the argument that I would probably make at the time was I just don't want them to filter, sure. But when most of their deck does the same thing, well, like, is there for the same thing, and the disruption they have would affect us no matter in the same way, like Frostbites and making us discard, like, pretty much would do the same thing versus us. And, like, maybe, like, the only argument I have for the filter argument is obviously they have 4 cards. They can put as many cards as they want in front to find their first chill, just and like establish a chill. Because a high level opponent should see that first turn and just know I'm gonna control dash at that point. So they should want to play the long game and just establish chills to establish false X's, right? And get a pitch stack going. So like if that's my argument, then like sure. But I just think that arsenaling this Fighting Sword is a little inconsistent, especially since it takes the whole entire resource where the Command and Conquer outside when floating. They do have the Scarf Scar. That's fine. Obviously, because I have the item here, I'm going to want to establish it in this matchup, like as soon as I possibly can. So blocking here is fine. The only issue is if they happen to have a fuse card, I get blown out a lot. Even if unless it's the blue, it's yellow or above, we get blown out a ton. Because either A, I have to give up too many resources not to take too much damage, then I probably can't establish the Purifier. Or B, I have to take more damage than I would have to just to keep cards, just to establish the Purifier. Like I said, a blocking here normally would be fine if I didn't have this item, because I obviously would have established item. The other issue is I also have this card in my arsenal that if I didn't have my arsenal, I could just arsenal the Purifier and be a little more defensive on my turn. But because I made the decision to arsenal one of the attacks, I now have to play differently. This is one reason why when I first played the deck, I didn't really arsenal attacks in a lot of matchups, just because you kind of force yourself into certain plays when you haven't established your items, and you can run into situations like this. Obviously, I think it'll be fine here, and our Fighting Spirit might unironically pay off because of their specific hand of Scarf Scar into Easter Egg. They're coming in for 7. Obviously, we'll take 4 here, go to 35, and by literal accident, one of the things that we said is depending on a certain hand, they could get us lower than them and turn our Fighting Spirit on. Here we go, they turn the Fighting Spirit on. Now, here's where it gets scary. They have an arsenal card. We have 2 cards in hand. We have an option. We can play the Plasma Purifier. We have 1 floating. We're probably at minimum taking 2 on our turn. So at minimum, we're probably going to be at 33 at the end of this turn. Now, if that was all, I think that's well worth establishing an item. But if this is an actual damage spell, like at minimum, let's just say it's an Aether Hell. Well, now we're at 31. And like the big thing is, you don't want to be behind Icelander. You want to be ahead or even with the Icelander, usually ahead. If you're, in reality, if you're even or behind the Icelander, you're severely losing because of this broken smoking card right here. Still don't understand why Dash doesn't get us Storm Striders. I actually be able to boost on my opponent's turn, it only seems fair. But the issue is, if I choose to actually play this Fighting Spirit, I am, in theory, tapping out, because having a single red is not going to save me from much. And it's not a card I want to pitch. I want to play this card. So if I have any discard spell here and I actually play the Fighting Spirit, I get punished so much. Because obviously I'm going to pitch it. But because this is a race, for the majority of the matchup, unless like something very, very strange happens, I am now just setting myself behind for absolutely no reason. Because it's Bullander, they're more likely to be able to use more of their cards. Because they're obviously on like surface cards and strikes and stuff. But also, again, this Fighting Spirit would also be like fine, just because it's a card stuck in the arsenal. But I choose to take the safer line, establish the item, because that's one of the big things, is just establishing items. I'm likely to take a decent chunk of damage here. But as long as I don't take like 6 or whatever, like it's fine. They unfortunately find the Insidious Chill, which is just it really sucks for them to establish a chill this early. So now we're at their mercy of when they want to play their chills. Because if they're smart, they'll use 2 of the counters to gain tempo and save 1 for the end game. So we'll take a little extra damage. We do get a massive payoff. Is their hand was extremely awkward because they wanted to Waning Moon. They had to pitch 2 red cards now. Something they could have done, and what I personally would have done if I was in their shoes. Obviously, I have experience as both decks. The 3 damage that we're getting here is completely free. I go down to 30. Absolutely. Like, you're doing it. But let's just say you save these cards. We'll pretend this is a blue. You could just send Wounded Bull for 7. Now, me, I'm probably going to block with 2 cards, unless they think this is like a D-React. I'm going to block with 2 cards, so I'm only now going to go to 32. But this is that grind game that you want. You want me to slowly start using my resources. Alright, so then I'm going to be on a 2-card hand. I'm going to be on a 2-card hand. And because it's early in my deck, I'm more likely to see reds. You might have a bigger opportunity to punish me. I understand cashing in the 3 free damage here. Like, if this was a tournament setting, in the moment, would I probably do it as well? Perhaps. Perhaps I would. I just think that we do get blinded. I don't know why it keeps getting thicker, by the way. Pause. Does anyone know why this keeps getting thicker? It just keeps getting thicker. Hold on, let me cook for a second, guys. Let me cook. We did it. We get blinded by this. And I think the phrase that I use, this is a race, I think most people are I don't want to say they misunderstand what I mean, because a race can only mean one thing. Who gets to the finish line first? Right? And there's obviously multiple ways you can get to that finish line. You can just start out bursting and just like go, and just hope you can just like remix your opponent. This would be considered high rolling. You can go for a very slow start, and then hope your opponent just gets tired from trying to go like this, and you get there first. Or you can just have a medium pace, maybe burst a few times, but like even it out and go. And identifying which one of these 3 gets you to this first, because to the blind eye, when we say race, everyone just thinks fast. And a lot of times, fast is good. Especially if like the race isn't that long. Like if it's like a marathon, like sure, going like this is just horrible. But if it's just like a 50 meter, dude, go for it. 25 meter, go for it. But because you're playing control versus control, yes, at the end you're trying to win the race first. But you have to identify how your opponent's going to choose to get there. Me, I'm going to try to establish all of these items as fast as possible. Your goal as the Icelander, even while you're trying to win the race, see if you can make me stumble. Try to just even yourself out a little bit. Try to even yourself out. Because what's happened here now is, yes, you cashed in 3 damage here. Good, cool. But now what we unfortunately did is either A, you're going to Cornet's peek me when I'm going to be... actually, whose turn is this? This is their turn. So it's going to be... Oh, no, I'm sorry. This is my turn. So on their turn, they could just Cornet's peek me. I'll lose a card. Sure, I'll have a 3-card hand. But now it's a 3-card hand versus you having no arsenal. That's not a winning strategy. Right? What's most likely going to happen, they're just going to Arsenal pass and draw up. Well, I'm also drawing up, and you just kept me with a full hand. Now, I don't have that. Now, there's probably not a lot of hands that can take advantage of only this. But if I can load my items, shoot my items, reload them for next time, throw like any attack, I'm making out like Amanda. I can probably throw an 8 points of value on my turn. And now you have to make the decision as Icelander, how much damage are you willing to give up to go for your turn? And it's just these very, very small things that can skew this kind of matchup. Trying to find value in something that's not actually there, or something that actually is not meaningful. Like, let's say, like, if you guys play League of Legends, right? We'll just keep it going with the analogies. Obviously, there's 3 lanes, and you got the jungle here, and you got some objectives. You got Dragon, you got Baron, right? And you have your 5 people on both sides. And let's just say you're this side and you're ahead, right? You're ahead. And realistically, you know for a fact your opponents, they can't just push up in the lane. Especially when they have like maybe like no towers or something. You can just flank, kill them. You beat them in any fight, right? They cannot just start doing the objective. This is one thing a lot of people don't understand. They can't. Someone, if you give the scenario to a lot of people, they're like, "What if they just start an objective?" Okay. If they're behind, what are the likelihoods that they can defeat the objective before you have a chance to respond in any kind of way? What are the chances? And let's just put an arbitrary timeline. Let's just say it's 30 minutes, right? You think at 30 minutes, this team can then just go walk to the dragon pit without no one checking it at any point and then just defeat it that fast? No, that's just not possible. They have way too much to lose by doing that. Same thing with this. They can't do Baron either. They just can't. If you allow them to do that, then that goes into a much wider issue. So the analogy here goes is people like to get wards. Wards allow you to have vision on the map. It makes you feel good that you know, hey, the enemy team isn't here because I have this ward right here that would see them. I have this ward right here that sees them. So I know they can't be doing it. It feels good. You know what feels good? Dealing 3 damage here. Taking me to 30. That felt good. That sounds like, yes, 3 free damage. This would be the same as you being the team that's ahead and investing money into wards here to be like, hey, it feels good because I know the opponents can't be doing the objective. But you know what we're giving up? We're giving up our precious gold so we can buy items to continue to accelerate our lead. Because once our team comp gets to like 35 minutes or 40 minutes, the enemy team will just lose. But because we want to feel good and do 3 damage, we miss out on a greater opportunity. Because imagine this fight comes up. And this, if you've played a MOBA, this will actually happen more often than you think. You'll be like just short of an item, and you'll miss an item power spike for an important fight. Or you have to wait in base for a few bits longer, or you'll have to be in a side lane just a few seconds longer, and you'll have to get more CS so you can go get your items. Well, now you've lost some tempo that you would have otherwise not lost if we just didn't want to go for luxury vision. If we just didn't want to do the thing that made us feel good. We want to get to our victory by reaching this and then having complete control of the map. Through pressure, not through feeling good. Now again, if you don't play MOBAs, some of this might go over your head. If you do play MOBAs, you should hopefully understand what I'm saying here. But yeah, just because something feels good and like looks free, doesn't mean it's actually free. Because again, now the Icelander is going to pay a cost. Most likely, they're just going to Arsenal, because you're just not going to go without an Arsenal in this matchup. Unless you just have a disgusting hand that you like don't know, like E-Strike and a Wounded Bull, right? You can do that. But now you're giving me a full grip, plus an Arsenal, that I intentionally kept there. Now I have a chance to send something back. And then I can start taking the lead. Now I can be the team that's ahead. I already have one of my items down. There's a large chance I can draw another one. If I can pistol you and then establish another item, I'm getting value, plus I'm winning with one of my game plans, establishing the item. I know this is a long tangent, but it's just micro decisions, win and lose Flesh and Blood, more than any other game. And even if the situation that I bring up doesn't pop up, like here. So everything I said, none of it really actually happened. They won't get too punished by this hand. Now, their argument would be because it's early, and if they know what I'm on, like maybe they have a higher chance to draw them. Like I think I might have even said that earlier. Like I said, if one of these were an item, one of these were another blue, there's a large chance they get punished. And they get very fortunate that this is the hand I draw. This could have been way more ugly. Now, what should probably happen here is we most likely want to throw this Command and Conquer, or we want to throw this Fighting Spirit. Because of how they played, I might suspect that they might have a D-React here. It's not always plausible. This could be a blue. This could easily be a blue. But I will expect that they probably have a D-React now at some point. They've seen enough cards, they've probably seen their first D-React. A little bit of a hunch, obviously. But even still, even if they'd have no D-React, the Command and Conquer is still good. Now, I do want to point out, most people always say, oh, Command and Conquer is really good against Icelander because it forces their hand. So, against our style of deck, the moment we throw like anything here, even though specifically a Command and Conquer, there's a large chance that they do something anyway. Because either A, they're just going to block and just be like, cool, you're an auto pummel deck, I'll block 6, play a value game, don't care. Or B, they're just going to respond with this arsenal. So that is not the reason why I want to throw this, or even arsenal this. That's not the reason. The reason I want to do that is because it combos with my board. That one resource combos with my board. These attacks take the full card. I can't do anything else with my board. I can't add counters to anything. Can't do anything. Well, with Command & Conquer, I can add counters, shoot stuff even, and then still do it. And it's, again, turn-to-turn things like that, where we gain a point of value without giving up a lot. Alright. Please don't pitch a CNC. Okay, yep, there we go. Alright, first move to the Icelander. Now here, obviously, it would be incorrect for them to really just do anything. Done for them to do. So we choose to just throw out the Fighting Spirit from hand. The only reason that we throw it from hand here is with Tunic and a card that's been an Arsenal, quote-unquote, that we stuck in Arsenal. They could suspect we have an Oasis. Maybe even a Sigil, but probably an Oasis. Which, mind game-wise, could get them to play different. Because why else would we just park something here and just not use it? If we had an item, we would have played the item. If it was an attack, we probably would have played the attack just to cycle stuff through. So that's a little bit of a mind game we can play there. I still would have liked to throw the Command & Conquer here, but what can you do? We do get an extra point of value because we're behind, which is very nice. Our opponent full takes it, which means they probably have some Sick McNasty stuff. I'm assuming a Scarface card is involved, but then our opponent just surprises us. Not that this is an issue, as long as they do it at some point. So they're going to bring 5 points of value to us at max. Sorry, at minimum we're taking 4. We can technically take 3 if we choose a Tunic, which here's the thing, I don't mind using Tunic. The only issue with Tunic, the Tunic resource is actually very, very important in this matchup, is because if we ever get them low on resources, what they're most likely to do is peek us. And if we use an actual card from hand, it's a lot of value going down the drain when if we just Tunicked, we'd keep all the cards in our hand and have a better turn. Because you have to think about the difference between this and this. Right? Because every single time we lose a card from our hand, most likely it's 3 health that we're possibly giving up, depending on what they do. Because it blocks for 3, with Arcane it blocks for 3. So we're forgoing 3 damage. So this Tunic now translates into 3 health if we Tunic on a peak turn. Now obviously if they don't peek us, we're good. But you could easily see them going like, alright, cool. Pitch, 1 floating, Waning Moon for 5 points damage. PQ, Arsenal this. That's a very plausible turn. That's a very, very plausible turn. And like I'm 9% sure I do a very stupid thing here. And I'm 9% sure I feel like I just Tunic here. I feel like I just remember this portion. No. Okay. So the only reason you would Tunic here is if you don't believe that they're going to peek you and that they're going to throw an actual attack. The issue with that being, I have no reason to believe that they're just going to do an attack and pass. They have no reason to not Waning Moon here, and obviously unless they need all the cards in hand. This is a spot where Waning Moon is extremely free. Because you have some form of disruption on your turn, you're still guaranteeing arsenal, low opportunity cost. And I do not recognize that here, unfortunately, and I give up a Bavaria resource, and I'm more apt to get punished for it. We do, like I said, we do gain 1 health here, but if we get peaked, which then Waning Moon means we're probably getting peaked here, it's a net loss of 2 life. It is a net loss of 2 life if they peak us. Alright, so let's just hope they don't corner speak us. Oh, that's crazy. Wow, they peaked us. So instead of just going like activate Tunic, yeah, pay for it. Now, one might say, well, Siphon, what are the odds you can use all the cards in your hand? Yeah, that's not the point. Because this is 1, hidden information to the Icelander. And 2, there's times where you can do a lot of creative things. Because there's more attack actions in Dash than there used to be. Like, I'm able to use this to do all my pistol stuff, use this to throw like an attack, that's this one, and still defend myself. I have the ability to defend myself while being proactive with all the cards in my hand. But because I got greedy to be up to AB1, I now lost 2 health. That's a net loss of 2 health. And it could actually entail more depending on what the Icelander does. Yeah, like this should never been a thing. Also, with the Tunic counter, I mean, that's Brother's Arm for 4 on like their Scarf Scar or buffed up Beast Strike or something. I just lose way too much value. And now I'm also stuck with this awkward hand. Now, I actually do something cool here. My goal is to use all the resources in my hand here. And it's actually very well possible, because obviously, again, this can pay for pistol, this can pay for the attack, this can defend myself. So if I'm actually able to squeeze out all the points of value in my hand, I'm pretty much OP. There's nothing else I can say. Especially if we don't leak damage, but I mean, we're probably leaking damage here. Alright, we got a block out of them, which is really good for us. It means like their offense on our turn is going to be a little bit less, and the offense on their turn is going to be less. Alright, and we're just going to go ahead and load these items back up. So now here I have a decision. So if I want to play a little bit more of a mid-range game and play a little bit more safer, I could throw this Fighting Spirit for 6. It's likely to be met with, well, let's talk about 1 and 2 cards. If they meet with 1 3 block, they're going to take 3, go down to 27. They have 2 cards in hand, plus a card in arsenal. I mean, there's a lot of stuff they can do with this. They can also play the card from their arsenal. They have a Tunic counter, so they can probably get like at least 5 points of value out of this turn with blocking with only 1 card. If they want to block with 2 cards, they'll stay at 30. But then again, they're probably just peeking us on our turn, which again, without Tunic counter, peek hurts a lot more. And if we ever draw a hand with reds in it, it gets kind of awkward. Well, multiple reds, I should say. Multiple reds, or even a yellow, can make things like extremely awkward here. So the way they block is going to tell a lot about their turn. Could also play it safe and just pistol here, which is what I do. I don't want to leave myself open to taking any chip damage if I don't have to. because the 2 blues should safely cover up whatever they choose to do. And if this even draws a card out of their hand, that's fantastic. Alright, so it does get met with a card, which is like really sick for us. They do get to actually return with a red fighting spirit. I like to call that Filthy McNasty. But we ourselves get to hit them right with a sick McNasty right back. So we take exactly 1 point of damage, which is fine. Then we get to do it right back. Now, we are going to take a little bit of a risk this turn and most likely be firing our items. I wouldn't hate literally just sending the Fighting Spirit and leaving 2 open. Just for some extra health. But the fact that they're tunicking. This, I mean, obviously I know bits and pieces of this game. This, I merely smell a... I either feel that this is a Code Snap, or this is a Charlie Frigid. But I personally was thinking it was a Charlie Frigid. The reason why I sniffed it was a Charlie Frigid is because it would be the most efficient thing for them, because they could pitch exactly 1 card in Channel and Waning Moon, and have a higher ability of keeping it up on their turn without just peeking. They could actually be proactive on their turn. So yeah, I super sniff out a Charlie Frigid, and because I'm literally the board genius, there we go. It's a thankfully we're a big blue deck, and we can fight through this. So now we get a big punish here, and we have the exact amount of resources to just pay for our Fighting Spirit. We're gaining 1, they have 3 cards in hand. They're going to have to take damage this turn. And that chunk right there is huge for me. That represents 2 pistol shots that I didn't have to. That I got to keep. Now this goes back again, where this Waning Moon is way more free than the other Waning Moon. That actually got us to 30. Again, the reason why this one's free is because they can still be proactive with peak, also keeping channel and keeping arsenal. They're accomplishing everything. Where again, the other one didn't really accomplish anything besides 3 damage, and 3 damage is not going to do anything. You're going to see a peak here. Now, one thing to note is that I do see I have a Spark of Genius here. If I'm able to actually establish a Spark of Genius, it can help out a lot, because if we do get to second cycle, I have a bunch of red stuck together. And here we can actually play the Spark of Genius through the Channel Lake, still have 1 floating, so we can get a little bit. So now, this is one thing that sets apart dashes from each other. So like in your average matchup, I think Chambers are pretty good to get. But versus Blizzard decks, or decks that possibly have 2 blocks, I actually like getting Purifier. Actually, even into some other matchups, I'm actually just grabbing Purifiers more often. But the reason why we're getting Purifier is more likely to leak damage, and we get hurt way less by Blizzard. Because if we go 2 chambers and they Blizzard us, there's a less likely chance that we can actually fire the adequate amount of times to have the go again be worth. Whether we just get Purifiers, the Blizzard gets way worse. If we're only attacking like twice. Even once sometimes. So getting Purifier here is going to be the 100% correct decision. Yeah, there we go. This was an old school thing we also did against Oldham as well. There was a period of time, I never got to show you guys the testing, But there was a period of time where I was actually testing starting Purifier in Odom. I didn't get to showcase a lot of that testing. I only did it for a very short period of time. Alright, so here here is a very weird turn. They show us a Scar. It would even up the left tail. Oh, sorry, we'd be behind by 1 with a full hit. We have no Arsenal card. We have a no blocker in our hand. We don't have a resource-rich hand either. They have a Channel Leak Frigid out, which, if they have like a fuse spell here, or if they're running like some red ice cards, they have a high chance to just keep this out. Especially if we choose to block, and then they keep it out, it kind of just neuters our turn. And most of these 1-card hands suck. The only like good 1-card, the only one good 1-card hand we have would be literally the blue, and it's not even that good. Like, the best thing we could probably see is like keep Warmongers and Purifier and just establish the Purifier if we're losing cards. But because they leveled Scar and this is their hand, this is the board, it's so hard to actually like know what to do here. Like, I'll be honest, I don't know what the correct play is. I mean, I take the damage because they could have anything, and unfortunately, I get punished. I took 4 damage for absolutely nothing. And they get to establish a Frost X. So now it's kind of on me to take advantage of this. So, thankfully, Channel goes away. So, we actually get to a really cool play. Is that we get to cheat. So, because we have an item in hand, and we have a spark and ability to play for it, we can actually play the Spark of Genius and go get our second chamber. Obviously, they don't know we have this. But if for some weird reason we're forced to pitch this Purifier, we still have one more Spark of Genius left in the deck. And I think we are probably likely to see this still, unless the game randomly just like speeds up from this point, which at these life totals, and not everyone's seen all their power cards yet, it could in theory speed up a lot. Obviously, the more items we get, the more scarier it gets for the Icelander. But if we're able to grab our chamber and Arsenal this Purifier, we're kind of just winning. Now, how much damage would I be willing to take? I don't know. But like, if it's like 6 max, I think it's like a fine trade to establish an item. Then we can play defensive the next turn, establish the next item, and just be there. So like I said, we're going to Cardian. Because we're a blue-rich deck, our opponent might think we're holding a blue. And could be more hesitant to really do a lot, but because they know this is the only thing that we can do on our turn, they don't really get punished for losing cards. Like, this is all just free value. So, they choose to do nothing now, but they're probably just going to do that at our end step. Okay, they choose to do nothing. That's interesting. So, they probably have attack actions. Oh, no, I remember this. I remember this. So, I actually could have. I actually remember this as soon as I passed and then it did nothing. The moment popped into my head what happened. So, again, I pride myself on knowledge of the game and being able to sniff out opponents' things. So, a couple turns ago, a similar situation of this happened where I established an item that kept a full grip. They had a Scarf as one of these cards. If they have a Scarf or a Fendel's Fighting Spirit, they just have lost value. Right? And for them to do nothing, literally nothing, makes me think this is a Scarf. And why it's bad for this to be a Scarf, it's just 4. Now, I'll be honest, getting to this setup was unintentional. But this play here is intentional. Because I could have at least fired one of the pistols and used my Tunic resource to make up for the Frostbite. Because I was totally fine with taking damage there to establish the item. I was totally fine doing that. Did not care. But like I said, we get to make out like a bandit. And let's play a game, guys. Do you guys think they have Scar in their hands? Let's find out. Let's find out if that's Scar. Oh, is that a Vapor Scene and a Coconut? Okay, cool. Also, they got Nova out of that Vapor Scene too, which is crazy. But also seeing the Vapor Scene is like insane. Okay, so this is not the hint that Scar, but it might be the next hint they have a Scar. I know at some point, they get absolutely clapped because they're a higher life than me. They have a Scar in their hand. Yeah, so here, I can make a really nice play of just loading up items. Raging Onslaught's not really even a bad Arsenal card. If I want to just establish items in Arsenal, the Raging Onslaught. But also, with the amount of mana that we have, and the fact they did nothing, it might just be free to fire a little bit. Math-wise, it's fine. So here, this is, again, another thing that separates good control dashes to the bad control dashes. Well, yes, I sniffed out that this is a Scar. But there is no guaranteed Scar. Maybe their hand just didn't line up with whatever the spell is, or the spell wouldn't have really done anything. They want it to be a little bit better opening. I think one thing that Icebreakers do is they're like so happy to always play the card in Arsenal. If playing a card from Arsenal lines up better against another time, I think it's obviously like better, right? But again, I'm 90% sure this is Scar. But let's just say this is like a Blizzard or some blue card, right? Because I only have access to 5 resources here, I don't want the chance of me activating these purifiers, trying to like pop off and like do a bunch of damage, and then I end up having to use like too many resources. Because the difference between having to load items and then shoot means I probably need to keep an extra card, which means I lose 3 health, versus I already have them active and I just need like a blue to fire these. Like very, very small things. Like I will lose a tiny bit of damage on my turn. It's what, like I have Exodia, right? Okay, no, I'm off of Exodia. No, because Exodia is right here. But right now, I could swing for 12, which is like really cool. Swinging for 12 is really, really nice. But that's luxury. The 12 is luxury because I'm giving up a lot. Because again, let's just say they take the full 12 and go to 12. They're not going to. Let's just say they do that. Well, now I have to spend, and also this is hoping that they don't do anything. But let's just say I get to keep all my resources. I now have to spend a bunch of mana to reload these items. Still hope they don't do anything. And then go to another turn. Like I'm probably not getting afforded that option. Right? Where this is guaranteed chip damage, most likely. Because I don't see a world where they block any of this. Because if they want to turn on their Scar, they want me to hit them. They want me to. But this is also where I can play around, because again, if I know how this is a Scar, I can do this, boop, go again, use the floating, boop, boop, load them up, pass. We're still even, Scar turned off. Like, stuff like that is just like mega high level, mega galaxy brain that a lot of people just would not see. A lot of people just would not see that kind of possibility. And so, unfortunately, it actually ended up being a sink blow. But let's look at this here. We got a sink blow on a 2 pistol. That's crazy. So this actually opens me up for a lot. Now, I did miss out on 2 damage here. But I have access to 5 resources. I could probably get away with unloading them and shooting the second one. But realistically, I should just be happy with just shooting more. Because I only intended to shoot once on my turn. And I think maybe I still only shoot once just to... Because even though this did not end up being a Scar, I still put them when they had one. It just happened to not be that card. There's a lot of things. The world is our oyster at this point right now. But we do know there's going to be no disruption and no damage on this turn either. So obviously we have a go again because we want to load stuff back up at bare minimum. And we are able to load back our items and then just play the Purifier. We could get greedy and swing more, which I guess we do have tunic resource, so we can shoot exactly one more time, put a counter on pistol, then play our item. So we do just gain 2 by doing that. And this is not a situation where Tunic most likely is going to be relevant because I have a 4-card hand. If Tunic becomes the make or break of this kind of turn cycle, then it was just whatever. But as you see, we kept the life totals even. We established an item. We did damage. We got a D-react. Like, everything was... That was just an amazing turn cycle. One issue is they still have this. Like, that is still just, like, fairing me. Like if you seen, like, if I had an eye tracker, it'd constantly be looking at this. And then they just make me really sad by playing a second one. Which, funny enough, I didn't know it was this turn that they did that. Yikes. So, no Scar for Scar. So, my sniffing skills were off. But I swear there was, like, a turn where they had a Scar for Scar and I intentionally kept the life totals low. Maybe I'm just making it up in my head. But, unfortunately for our opponent, we have Exodia. And we have 4 blues in hand, which is what we were waiting for. We could have been a little bit more aggressive with damage, but we keep our life totals high for stuff like this. So they meet me with a channel like Frigid, which like literally is the only reason this game would end up being close. Well, I guess if this is like a blue Aether Ice thing, like it's like the same result. Just because they'll strip 3 cards from my hand. But realistically, I want these chills out of the way. And I'm at a high enough life total where like the chills wouldn't make a break. I would just pause and just like play very defensive until the chills went away. And I would just get in low chip damage here or there. But that's not a channel like Frigid, it's fine. We have a hand that can push through it. We have a hand that pushes through it. I would just need to mentally do the math of how much I can get away with. But the other thing is I also want to make sure that I don't take any damage from Waning Moon. I want to keep my life total as high as possible because of these chills. So however much I choose to shoot, it's gotta be careful. So this is where I do think I make my first legitimate mistake this time. So what we can do is we can just kind of do math on what the most optimal like turn cycle is. And what my opinion is I could forego 1 turn of Purifiers, pay 3 mana, attack of all Purifiers, shoot pistol. So like let's go back for a second. Let's go back. Let's look at the hand as a whole. And when they actually channel. Okay, so what have I done at this point? Actually, let me start into what I've done. So I do want to make sure that I'm looking at things exactly. So I put a counter on pistol. That's when they channel like. Oh my. Oh, it's froze again. Are you serious? Alright, there we go. Okay, so here, if we wanted to activate a Purifier, we would pay 2. We would have this here. We would have 2 floating. And then we wanted to activate another one. We would have 1 floating, activate another one, no floating. Cool, this is done. Now to shoot, we would go down to 2 floating. This card, we could give it go again. Go down to 1 floating. Load pistol up. Using this, go to 2 floating. Shoot pistol, go down to 1 floating. Now, because of how that turn cycle is, we could probably take exactly 2 damage from Waning Moon, and we would win that turn cycle like pretty hard. Because either A, because we're coming in for 10 on a challenge turn. Full hit takes them down to 12, which is just very dangerous for us. And if we only take 2 from Wang Moon, that takes us to 18. So now the turn cycle is 12 to 18 when I have lethal on board every single turn. Obviously, it's going to take a few more resources to get this, but I don't think that they take a full hit. Now, obviously, keeping Chunlik alive is important, so maybe at max they block with like a card, so they can just peak Arsenal. So like they'd probably be at more or less like 15. 15, 18 is still not bad for us. Again, when our combo does exactly 15, and we still have mostly blues in deck. So I actually would have favored pumping up Purifiers here and going for a little more of a chunk. But yeah, we chose to be cowards, and this was my first big mistake. I lost so much damage here, and every last bit of damage matters. You cannot miss out on damage in this matchup. Well, okay, you cannot miss out on good points of value, because there are times where you will forego damage if it makes a more optimal play down the road. That kind of goes back to what I talked about earlier in the video with the Icelander, actually. But yeah, this is me playing a little too respectful and then just refusing to do the math. Like, I think me back in like January, February, when I was like cracked out at this deck, I probably would have done the math and like seen this line. But I'll be honest, I'm a little bit less practiced on this than I used to be. Yeah, we end up missing out on some damage. Like, yeah, the Winning Moon is here, that's fine. Like I said, we would we would just be down 2 health, but we would have threatened so much more. Like, it'd be different, we would be down 5 health to do what we wanted to do, but we're down like 2. So it is kind of disheartening to watch that, because now this is where the Icelander's going to start putting the squeeze on. Not with a peak, but even worse, a Wounded Bull. So a full hit would take me down to 13. I'm not taking a full hit. So now I have to decide how many cards I want to give up. I could fully block myself 3 cards and make a lot of sense. Taking 1 here going to 19 is perfectly fine. Now, with 2 blues in hand, instead of having Chunlik and an Arsenal, I have a few options. I could just pass. I could play the Shockwave. I could try to math and see how many pistol shots I can do. There's definitely a lot that can go wrong in this spot. You see me here checking the graveyard. I see 2 Scarf Scars, 2 Red Hex. So like, I don't actually have that much information. And this leads me to just pass, because for 2 reasons. One, I wanted to see if they would act. But here's the issue, right? Why would they need to act? This is why this play is kind of bad. Like, at worst, I should throw at least a pistol shot, because this is just losing 2 damage. This is the one thing I talked about, is just one bad mistake. This leads to another one. This leads to another one. I just miss out at minimum 2 damage, because I can still send the pistol shot if nothing else. Still have all my resources. Well, sorry, I'd be done exactly 1 resource, but like, trading 1 resource for 2 damage seems like a fine trade in this spot. And here's the thing. Okay, let's just say they act. Just because they act doesn't mean I would even do something. Especially if it's something that produces a Frostbite, which it's more unlikely to do. That would make actually my part harder. And yes, if my goal is to shift them all cards to keep their get their Chunlik away, is this the situation that's going to actually do it? If I was them, I would probably take the damage just if I can guarantee keep Chun-Li around. I'll go without an arsenal and just keep Chun-Li around, to be honest. Yeah, this was a massive punt. This is punt number 2 of this game. Definitely just missed out on damage. Also arsenal to blue. And we have the big punish here. And because I've played a lot of both decks, this is where I start sensing that I'm just going to lose the game. Because opponent 2 chills. Chun-Li probably can get a second ice card. There's just no winning anymore. Like, if this was like League of Legends, I'd be F6ing right now. Well, I'd be FFing right now. I'm losing way too many cards on this turn, and they're gonna keep Chun-Li around. So it's not even like if I wanted to get greedy, I can still do something. It'd still be hard. Because I have AB4, I can take a little bit of extra damage. Now, I try to do the math to where I can take damage and just discard, not have to I'm sorry, not have to pay 2. Fortunately, I do my math wrong. I need to take 1 extra damage to keep 2. I just literally couldn't do math. And I'm trading 1 damage for a whole entire card, which is worth. Oh, I have like what? Oh, my mic is off, but I have game sound on. What the heck? But yeah, so I need to take 3 here to keep the card. Because like the issue is like if I choose to go like bare bones next turn. Oh, there's the Scarf Scar. I knew there was Scarf Scar at some point that like they just couldn't play because I just stopped doing damage to them. But but yeah, God, I forgot what my actual point was. God dang it. We're live, by the way. Pretend I said an intelligent point and it was intelligent. So yeah, here's a squeeze. Card in arsenal. Channel Lake. 1 card in hand. Can't do much. Now, the worst thing I could do, and I'm pretty sure I do it at some point, I make a very boneheaded play just to get a card out of my arsenal. I hope it's not this turn. I just like throw my attack for 4 damage. Because in theory I have 2 AB. But I'm pretty sure it's just because I get desperate. Okay, it's not this turn. Sweet. Sweet, sweet, sweet. But your opponent's in firm control. The challenge like at this point isn't even like doing anything. We get another direct out of them, which is like fine for us. But they still have 2 chills out. Still have plenty of counters on them. They kind of just get a freebie with one of the chills. They can just do whatever they want. And then they can use the last chill important. And then this is where we get the really bad hand. Or, yes, Sigil is technically the same thing as a blue. It's also not the same thing as a blue. It doesn't stop on hits. So this is a really pivotal turn. So Channel Lake is going away. That is cool. But obviously I have to think about what my opponent has. They still have chills. If this is a Aether Ice Fang, because they're in blues. I'm not in blues anymore, but they're in blues. This is blues. This makes almost anything I do in my turn worse. So options I have, I can block here, take 1, go to 13. And then just like pray that whatever I do with this card on my turn is impactful. But the issue is, I'm at 13. Even if they can't kill me, they can just start winning me down, and it's almost a guaranteed loss from that point. I can block with 1 card, take 4, go down to 10, send back Raging Onslaught, full hit takes him down 13, and we kind of have a ball game again. Not really, but we kind of do. I could also be a complete coward and just block with everything. Well, that accomplishes next to nothing. Last option. Could I just take 7, go to 7? I mean, I have Exodia. I do have Exodia. But that goes back to the original thing. They have a chill. They don't want me to have a turn. And I have a fuse card. Whatever damage I take is just bad. And at 7... Ugh. I mean, I'm probably not guaranteed dead. But, like, they're going to leak damage. And they'll just slowly whittle me down. And I'm just playing into the Wizard's hands. Like, I've pretty much already lost the game at this point. It's just... we have to go through the motions. I lost the game, like, 3 turns ago. And now, unfortunately, we just kind of have to go through the motions. But I choose to block with the red. Get the red out of my hand. I try to muster up some offense with the blue because Charlink is going away. But I'm still taking 4 damage going down to 10. Unless I tap out like a weirdo. They don't have a chance to kill me from this spot. I do think the correct thing here was to at least block with 2 cards. Go down to 13. Because if my opponent responds and does stuff anyway, the more cards in my hand, I just get punished for having more cards in my hand. Because more cards are going to be stripped and they don't really do anything. Now I try to be cute and see if I can get the Ascendant to do something before I do anything. So I try to bait them out with Tunic, but they obviously have no reason to respond. Because what am I going to do? Pass? No. I mean, I'm going to do something. So we start off by putting counter on Tunic. And we have Exodia fully online. All we need is a blue, which we do have. So this is where I go for it. So a full hit here will take them down to 5. Which is really nice. But what are the odds we take them to 5? And then you think, what are we accomplishing by taking them down to 5? Like, threaten lethal every turn. Okay, cool. When are we going to be able to threaten lethal again? And not be at risk of dying ourselves. Like, this is just foolish on my part to take an extra 3 damage to do nothing. Because if they have an ice card in their arsenal and then like a blizzard in hand, I'm just being taxed 4 resources. And it's just gonna suck. And then they can still Waning Moon for 3. Such a foolish girl. Hang on, Pistos. Sir, I was kind of slowly debating, should I just load up and pass and just take the 5 damage as a win, but I'm not missing out on damage like I have already. So I've already sent in, they haven't done anything. The logic here could be that they're seeing if I tap out, and if they can just kill me, which I don't hate that. I could see if I just choose to get greedy and like, oh, I'm just doing all this damage, I'm just gonna go. I'm like, yeah, I would just die. I do believe this turn I get that card out of the arsenal because I have the sigil. Oh, I do apologize if you guys hear Discord ping in the background. Like, it's Discord kind of going kind of crazy. So yeah, counter on Chamber here and sending the attack from Arsenal for 4. We do lose a damage here, but we gain. Okay, no, okay, yeah. So this way I so effectively have gained 1 life. But like realistically, I don't think in this spot like the 1 resource is going to actually change the game, or like the go again could. But I mean, like I said, there's no matter what I do, it's just wrong. I shouldn't realistically be in this situation. Opponents in the tank. Like I said, them going to 6 is actually fine. Because this means they can take a full boosted pistol shot and be alive still. So like, this is also 1 damage, mattering a lot. But again, I am attempting to just make sure I can get that sigil in Arsenal, which I do. So I'm effectively at 13, then we draw a triple yellow hand. When they have an Aether Ice Vein, it's just pain. So even the game, so here's another issue. So the game looks close when you look at life totals. But to any high-level player, they understand this game was over legit 5 turns ago. It is just Icelander can't kill somebody from 20, unfortunately. She cannot be Kanoe and Icelander at the same time. Maybe we play Aether Wildfire in our Icelander deck. Thinking emoji. So here I'm trying to do math if I can do something cute. And here I just choose to be as offensive as possible. Because I have the sigil, I know that I can't just lose. Just he can't do 11. I don't think he got that dog in him to do 11. I mean, if he can, he can. But yeah, you can see this game where turns where I just missed 2 damage here, 4 damage here, 6 damage. It's added up. At minimum, they should probably be at 3 or 4, possibly less. And who knows, them being a different life total could make them play differently. But yeah, so yellow Aether Ice Vein, probably a 3 in the arsenal, 7 when he makes it 10. So really cool for us. Sigil keeps us at 1. If they don't have an ice card. If they have an ice card, it's a little bit GG's. Oh wait, is that an ice card? Dude, that's crazy. So I actually didn't notice it at the time. I was like, alright, I get to leave at 1. I get to live at 1, and there's a chance, there's a world where I can do something. And then I'm like, wait a minute. This is where I notice. And I was like, crap, pay 0. Alright, E1s. But yeah, you guys can see, both sides made minor misplays, which allowed the other side to catch up. It is unfortunate I made mine later versus a wizard, and it punished me more. Wizard is unfortunately the hero where the later you make the mistake, the higher you get punished. Versus other decks, no matter let's say you're against a Briar, right? I don't think the timing of when you make a mistake, let's say if you mess up versus Icelander or Kano, it's a 9 out of 10 as a mess up. Versus Briar, it's a 6, maybe a 5. Versus Illusionist, it might be a 7 or an 8. Versus a Wizard, they are there to put a squeeze on you. And their squeeze also kills you from double digits on your turn. But yeah, so you can see, like I said, minor mistakes, big ripple effects that can largely go unnoticed. Some of these mistakes I probably didn't catch live, even though I was talking some of my plays out. I'll see you guys in here, get to hear it. But you do kind of see how the matchup goes, even though I still do think it is Dash favored. It was Dash favored when they had Hypothermia Ammo Device, and they were still in Bullhander. Here, it's obviously a little bit easier for us. We just unfortunately missed out on a lot of damage and took those turns where they just sent 4 go again and we just didn't block. There were so many points of value just missed on my side. Again, that at the time were not obvious. They were not massive. They weren't if that match was being commentated, the commentators probably wouldn't have pointed it out. But we're sitting here reviewing the game and we see how massive those mistakes were. Oh, I think that one, never mind. What's the video at now? Ooh, an hour and 30 minutes. You guys are getting a treat. Jesus Christ. Alright, so let's go to the final match. This is going to be Azalea. I tried to get Alexi, but yeah, there was no Alexis online for some reason. So we're going against Azalea. We fortunately get the first. I born an Alexi, and I just obviously add a Oasis in there. Opponent told me good luck, have fun. So this is one thing I want to teach you guys. Don't ever wish your opponent good luck. Because what's going to happen is So Matt Agon wished me luck. So now I have, let's say, luck as just L. Now if I also wish them luck, well, because they wish me luck first, it now goes over here. So now, cool, cool. My headset just keeps dying. So now they have the luck. Now I don't actually have any luck. I lost out on luck because I gave it back to them. Where if they say good luck to me, they tell me to have fun. I get to have the luck and the fun, while their name is just Matagon. Like my name is Siphon. I have luck and fun. They're just Matagon playing Azalea, Ace in the Hole. Just a little bit of a trick for you guys. You guys can like fist bump your opponents at events, but when they say good luck to you, just shake your head and nod and thank them for the good karma. But obviously, so going into this matchup, big things are we're taking out all of our items. The reason why we're taking out all of our items is because, yes, they are a dominate deck, but they also will have turns where they just send like 14, 15 damage. And it's completely blockable. And if our goal is to be the deck that just fatigues them, yes, we in theory could fatigue by damage, but we're bringing up a large opportunity just to easily run them out power cards and not take a lot of damage. Like some of these hands that you'll see, if you just place one card with an item, this game's so different. And stay tuned. Our opponent does get a little angry spaghetti. So I eyeballed this Sparker Unit going, oh yeah, item turn 1. And then I quickly remembered, fatigue version, right? So we just ended up pitching it. So because we're actually aiming to fatigue here, and our goal is to run them out of power cards, we don't actually care when they see their power cards. So actually pistoling them early, even though it seems insignificant, just getting cards in their graveyard is so important. And if that means like they get their good cards with Kodak first, even if that means like they see their power cards earlier. Our power cards are our D-reacts. We also want to see them. So let's go. And like I said, we're going to attack here. Our opponent should block, but they don't block. So that's just 2 damage for free. Let's go. And we're just going to pitch the Whisper. And we're going to be like, alright, we'll give you another chance. Block. And our opponent, I think, blocks this one, right? Yeah. So they just took 2 damage for nothing. But so quickly, the reason why I didn't underpitch here, or even play the Censor, is next turn, I would like to guarantee be able to pistol and Censor for 7 points of value. Censor is obviously really, really good in this matchup, because what I do is I just name their power cards, like Codex of Frailty and things like Rain Razors, and I just name those. So we just get giga value there. So we milled a card, we did 2 damage, we get an arsenal, we're happy about everything. We see double D-react, so I also have an exact dominate, like we don't get punished a lot. So here is the dichotomy of this matchup. So our opponent is going to send 4 Go again at us, revealing a Seek and Destroy. They can't draw anymore off a Death Dealer, so that's good, obviously. But to play this, at minimum, they're going to need to pitch a card. So at max, they're going to have 1 card left. Now, Azalea can function with and without an arsenal. It doesn't really matter. It just depends on if they want to fix their deck and maybe get +3 damage on the next turn versus this turn. Obviously, just matters what you're swinging with. Fortunately, we do have an easy thing. We can just cover it up. But if they choose to actually try to cycle this card, obviously they're not going to because they know they have a Seek Destroy. But hypothetically, like it was an arrow, and they choose to dominate, we would love to use our direct, but we're forced to just take extra damage for no reason, because obviously the big thing is we want to arsenal these D-Rex and for our dominate, and if there's a dominate and we can't actually use our D-Rex, well, our D-Rex loses a little bit of value, obviously. So using like a Vapor Scene on a Rabble while it looks nice is actually like a huge misplay that I really hope I don't do. Either A, I just don't block this at all, or B, I put exactly like a payload in front of it because I want to keep Last Ditch Effort because technically speaking, it goes into our game plan of fatigue. I also do have to think about why I shouldn't block, as they could just bracer this and give this +3. So I think taking damage here is just fine. This is not a power card. We don't really care about this. Is not an on hit. So they're gonna lace bracers +6. Correct, +6. Is one +2? Am I not stupid or something? Oh, yeah, good bracer is a +2. Good spine is the pitch. Okay, yep, never mind. Yep. So this is where just having a direct is massively OP. We can just give him 2 cards. Favor Scene. Put this to the bottom because in this matchup we want to see our directs very early. When we see our opponent playing like this, if they're just going to fling their power cards willy-nilly and not pitch stack, we want to just see our power cards. And as you guys seen there, let's back up a little bit. They send a lace and a drill shot together. So even though they do have the ability to what's called shuffle, this is something that like late game I don't want to see this kind of combination, because they're probably gonna put the drill shot on top, and if they dominate a drill shot and have like a lace with it, that could literally be like how the game ends. So I'm just gonna pitch my D-Rack there, try to match them, and plus I also want to cycle my deck as fast as possible, stack more D-Racks at the bottom. They get another red in the ledger, but unfortunately this probably will not be getting dominated. They're just looking to buff it up to 11. Unfortunately for them, they get stuffed like an Oreo yet again. There's a lot of stuffing in this game. Fortunately, they're just lucky we didn't get value off of this. So we actually get to use 2 D-Racks here. I don't like using D-Racks willy-nilly on non-dominant stuff, but this lined up way too beautifully. And here you see me accidentally just clicking too fast. So yeah, we get to cover this up. We don't get any of the nasty on hits. We just get all the goodness, and we still get the pistol for 4. So our opponent has done next to nothing so far in this game, and we're just running them out of 2 red in the ledgers already. And I believe Azaleas are all off of Memorial Ground, so they're not getting them back outside of Codexes. So speaking of Codexes, remember that sensor that we put in our arsenal? Oh, you just blocked? Oh, that's crazy, dude. That's crazy, dude. So, sensor. So, here's what our opponents think about. If this hits, and we call it correctly, massive blowout. If you block, massive blowout, because now you're doing nothing. I mean, best thing you can do is like Tunic, Death Dealer into some random crap, and hope it costs 0, pump it, and shoot it. For like 7, which we can easily block. Now, obviously, if this hits, we call along, whatever. They're still taking 5. They're massively behind. They're massively behind on cards. They've already used their bracers. They've seen 2 red in the ledgers. They're blocking with pumps. It's not good for them. Now our opponent gets a little freaky here. So this does hit. And so looking at the board state, what do you guys think I called? I'll give you guys like 5 seconds. What do you think I call in this situation? Knowing what's in their graveyard, knowing they have 2 cards in hand to stay the game, what do you guys think I call? 2 seconds. If you said Warmongers, well, I don't know why you would say that. If you said Awakening, that card's not legal, and Azalea can't even play that. If you said Brave Force Bracers, get out. If you said Codex of Frailty, you'd be correct. So the reason why we would call Codex of Frailty here is the best thing they could do on our turn, obviously since we are a weapon-based deck, we have no arsenal and we have attacks in there. their tunic's going to be on 3. They could eat the card loss, or even just pitch, right? They don't actually have to like lose complete value on the card. They could Codex, get a ponder token, so actually pitching if they don't want the card is just really nice. So they could pitch the card, play the Codex. If it's like a yellow or a blue, then they don't have to use Tunic. They can just fire like an Affecting Shot or a Red in the Ledger. If it is a red, cool, just Tunic and shoot it. I'm going to be down to 3 cards. It's probably going to have good on hit, so now I'm going to block. So now I go down to 1 card in hand. And now, depending on what I put in Arsenal, which, honest to God, I'd probably just put Censor back in there again. Now that turn only goes to 6 damage, and Censor will become way worse whenever it's a full hand and there's nothing like obvious. Like here, like the obvious call would be a Codex, right? Like there's other niche things I could call a specific arrow, but like I would just be blind saying an arrow with like no context whatsoever, because all arrows here are equally kind of like bad. Like no arrow. Okay, I mean obviously like there's a ranking of arrows, but like if I see them have an arrow, I'm not gonna be like, oh no, they have this arrow. Like I'm not gonna care. Like it's an arrow, I'm gonna block it if I can. Right. So Codex is the highest value thing that I could call here. And as you see, I obviously call Codex Frailty. And there's merit to like maybe calling Codex of Inertia, but like I don't have an Arsenal. If their logic is they know when Arsenal D-reacts, I can't Arsenal a D-react. Like that's like maybe trying to get too cute. But yeah, Codex Frailty, safest call possible. Now this, if they had Codex, oh God, if they had Codex of Frailty here, Jesus Christ, man. So I get blessed by a blue on the top, so it's only 2. I thought about still blocking this just for the value. But if they plan on getting like a 1 for 5, I would actually just like to unmovable that. Or I could just use 2 blues. Unfortunately, they just do none of that. They just pass. So at this point, I'm actually thinking they have a Codex. Because, like, why else would they have just not played anything? Like, played their previous turn how they played it, and then just not did anything on this turn. So I'm thinking they have a Codex. So all I want to do is just make sure I have this unmovable in Arsenal. That's all I care about. And we do get to play this Sigil, so we get to shoot for 2 Sigil no matter what. And we're kind of just like winning. We're at 37. Opponent's already down to 42. So our opponent actually flips Rain Razors. Obviously, Rain Razors like would never have been the call there on a 2-card hand. Like you're not Lexi. You're not gonna like Tunic Theory of Commerce off Rain Razors and just blow my back out with like some random like giga hand. Like that's just not gonna happen. Edward Clint Champ. What is this? What the heck is this? What in the world was that? Huh? I don't know what the heck that was. But yeah, Razor never would have been the call there, so like, it's fine. And like, we have 2 immovables. We don't really care about their Rain Razors. So they're going to pitch to Death Dealer. They're going to get to stack their deck with Spire Slamming, so this is where having an immovable in Arsenal is just straight up OP. They flip a Spire Slamming into a Spire Sniping, which is unfortunate. They do get to put it with a Deadeye and a Glide. But here's where our opponent's going to get really sad. So because we have them immovable for 8, we can just put a card in front, play the immovable, pitching the last ditch effort. We take no damage. Then we can play Warmongers, hopefully stuff their turn, Arsenal and immovable, and we can just keep that flow going. Like, this is also, always pick War. Just pick war. I don't know why I pick peace. I mean, I know the reason I pick peace is so I can still like load items and stuff. But just pick war. And it's in like a Ram 2 for 4, 2 for 5. It's fine, I promise. So they get the rabble. Unfortunately, they're just the best. They're just the goat. There's nothing I can do if they're just a better player. And they're missing the affecting shot. That's fine. We're just going to movable that. It is what it is. We still have playing D-Reacts. I mean, you can see them in our hands. And Tunic, I should put a counter on pistol, shoot pistol for 2. It's just 2 free damage. Please, for the love of God. Oh my God. I hate watching this so much. It's so painful to watch. Like, ladies and gentlemen, blue equals 4 damage. Whether I have a counter in here or not. There's no reason not to shoot 2 here and just put your opponent to 29 because they're not going to block. It is 2 free damage. And if your opponent blocks it for some reason, even better. Their turn's worse. Alright, so opponent's going to double pump this. They're going to say I super can't use D-Reacts. And I'm like, from Arsenal, I'm like, you know what? You have 2 things to say I can't play D-React from Arsenal. I don't think I'm going to play D-React from Arsenal. You got it. And they're going to send 11. Unfortunately for them, so I sense a snaps. I sense they have a snaps here, and I was just thinking what the worst thing they could have is. I was thinking like maybe the way this lines up, maybe legit it's just a what's it called? A random CNC. I don't know why they would have a CNC. Maybe just to hedge into warmongers. But I was like, ooh, could this be a CNC? But like realistically, like even no matter what it is, it doesn't change my play. Actually, wouldn't mind it being a CNC. It just lets me know that they're a coward. So they snapped this as I seen. I'm just gonna rack with Vapor Scene, cover up as much of the damage as possible. It's completely fine. So then our opponent does play a Codex of Frailty. Unfortunately for them, they just send a bolt and shot, and I'm just like, is that it? Is this your king? Now, I should 100% block. Here's why I 100% should block. So their goal is to deal 36 more damage to me. My goal is to run them out of cards. So the only thing I can do by taking this damage is sending 2 damage back. And this is just me not doing math. Alright, here's the math. They come for 4. I block 3. I take 1. Woo! 31. Oh, sorry, no, I'd be, took a full hit, so I was at 35, right? No, I was at 36. So, 36. Woo! 36. 36. Woo! And then I go down to 35. Alright? So instead of doing that, I decide, hey, why don't I just take 4, go down to 32 for some unknown reason, to send 2 damage back. I have a freaking Frailty token that I knew I had. I knew I had this. Why am I choosing to deal 2 damage? Like, this card, instead of being 3 points of value, is now 2 points of value. I just lost a point of value for no reason. And it's not like the context is like, well, I could get him to a certain breakpoint, like something like, no. Strictly, blocking is correct here. At every single function, it is just strictly correct. It is kind of inarguable, actually. Like, this is almost reportable. Like, honestly, if you booed me off a stage, I would not be against it. This is just an absolute heinous play. So they're gonna flip a Rain Razors. Why do I not hear echo? 1 second. Oh no, my microphone's still going. Dang, almost 2 hours by the way. Jesus Christ, you guys are lucky. They're gonna start bringing the pain. 2 buffs plus 5 so far. They're gonna look to dominate. They get a dominate remorseless. So hey, you know that direct I had? Would be really unfortunate if it still did nothing. I also have 3 cards in hand still. So now they get to East Strike for 5 go again, and it's just lame. They're just being lame. Aurora Man would have played Ravenous Rabble and flipped a blue, and then just passed their turn. So I choose to block here, obviously, because it's my chance to actually block damage. And I just take less damage overall on the turn. Because nothing I can do on my turn will be more than what they do on their turn. So I choose to give myself some extra health here and keep the life totals even. And they're at 30 cards, and they still have to chew through 28 points of damage. And they don't have a ton of buffs left. And they're running through an E-Strike of 5 go again. So they're looking obviously to drill shot me. This is where my hand is just OP as hell. And I get to really use Brother in Arms. I get to split an unmovable into 2 different pieces without him actually being D-Rex. Most people would make the comment that I'm using 3 cards for 8 points, which is technically 1 less. But the thing is, I'm getting one of the cards back, right? And it's still being split up over 2 attacks, which is fine, right? And like the alternative would have been like, the alternative wouldn't have been like amazing, like points of value wise. And I keep choosing peace for some reason that I don't understand. I'll never understand why I keep choosing peace. Hopefully I choose war at some point. Alright, so our opponent does get stuffed by the Warmongers here, and they just drill shot me for 4. I want to get this Down Dirty in Arsenal for a future Codex. I do play the one of Down and Dirty into Codex, well, into Azalea specifically, and into Dromai. I want to try into Lexi. Unfortunately, I just can't get Lexi practice because nobody wants to play against Control Dash, because me, I guess. So they flip a pretty good card here. They flip a Bolt and Shot, and if they have a pump in hand, they can shoot 2 arrows a turn, which is pretty nice. Possibly 3, just pending. I doubt it'd be 3. There's a few World War 3, but it's most likely 2. So they're gonna double non-attack here. So instead of trying to get the extra value out of Bolt and Shot, they're going to choose to try to go a little bit taller with the Infectant Shot, which is cool. That's real cool. Ooh, we got a Deadeye too. Look at you go. Now hear me out. Hear me out. What if you swung for 12 Dominate, and I just said no? You might be saying, Siphon, how? If Bravo can't deal damage to me with like 74 Dominate, I don't know why Zeta think they can. Yeah, this is about to get tough to watch, ladies and gentlemen. I would look away. They spent their whole hand to deal 12 Dominate. And, oh boy. It's still hard to watch. It's still hard to watch. By the way, I have a Sigil in hand. I'm just going to game 3 at some point. Oh, no. I honestly expected a concession right there. So, you did like that really cool thing where you tried to do like 12 Dominate to me. And then I'm going to do the same thing I've done the whole entire game and swing 4 at you. And like, I'm just looking through Graveyard. I'm like, wow, they went through so many power cards. I was like, I'm just thinking like what's left in their deck at this point. Like, what can they actually do? Not much. And then we can just keep pissing them down. They have 22 cards left in deck. Do they have the ability to still kill me? Absolutely. Are they going to? Come on now, you know the answer. Come on, stop it. Like I said, this is also one of the matchups where like the resources in my hand don't matter because as long as I have a blue, I'm doing on my turn what I would have done either way. I'm either doing 0 or I'm doing 4 or 1 of 2. So they sent a red in the ledger. Uh, no ability to give it go again because boots are gone. So I'm saying, okay, do they have a rain razors? Why else would they be making this play? And like realistically, I thought about overblocking this just to not take damage. But here's the thing. Let's say they rain razors me. You know what I do? I just Raging Onslaught for 5. I actually gain a damage by doing that. Like I tell you, I lose a card from deck, but I just gain a damage. If they're red ledger me. And this is where I just choose to like big math. And be like, you know what? We don't need to Raging Onslaught for 5. Winky face. We're just going to send Pistol for 2, lol. Now what if I was just lying to you? It's an activated tunic and we're still Raging Onslaughted. For 7 points of value. So here's 7. Well, 7 points. Here's, well, technically 5. You're not going to block it. Now, here's the big issue now, right? They have 20 cards left in deck. I am at a healthy, and I mean healthy 27. All of these cards block for 3. I can block 12 a turn, if you let me. I can also just kill you at this point. I still have a lot of reds in deck. I can fatigue you by damage. I can fatigue you by deck. It's hard for you to kill me. Like, the Azalea's starting to actually run out of like options at this point. And you will see with a message in like 5 minutes. Opponent's feeling the burn a little bit. That's all I'm going to say. Opponent did vote for, God, who's our president? Joe Biden. Wait, that wasn't feeling the burn. Was it Bernie Mac? Wait, Bernie Mac didn't run for president. Alright, once again asking for your financial support. There it is. We did it. Alright, so this is where I just consider like my blocks. I get kind of greedy, and just because I don't want them to be able to cheat resources, because I don't know what their resource curve in their deck is like, well, in their hand is like, and I just give up my tunic. It was a bold move. It's a very bold move. But sometimes you gotta play a little disrespectful. And I'm gonna disrespect the out of my opponent. I'm gonna take 5, take 7, technically, because I'm not paying for those Battle Pox. And now I'm gonna say War and Peace, Holmes. And you're about to see the most filthy, McNasty warmongers ever. Alright, so I'm gonna pass the priority to you. I'm gonna go to your turn. Oh, got some triggers. Hold on. I got some triggers. Give me 1 second. Yeah, I'll take 2. Alright, your turn. Wait, what? What do you mean it's my turn? Are you saying all 5 of these can be used? Oh, wait, you don't have Trench to get this out? And this is a non-attack action? Oh, wait, and you can't activate Azalea? Oh, dude, that's crazy. Because you chose War? That's crazy. That's crazy. And you don't have any regular attacks just to do something? Oh, wow, that's weird. That's really weird. Warmongers is bad, by the way. LOL. And, so we just time walked our opponent. That's cool. That's cool. It's cool. And, back to grinding on our opponent. Pause. At this point, dude, I can literally just lay down in my chair while doing this review. Actually, no, I'm going to do that. I'm going to lay down in my chair. Because this game is now over. Dude, I just sent an overloop on my opponent. I'm getting mad disrespectful. Because again, our opponent has 16 cards. 21 total cards available to deal 23 damage to me. Even with a lot of dominating, I don't think they can kill me. Because I still have playing D-Rex. And like, how many pumps do you realistically have left? Because you're gonna need pumps like exactly like laced with blood rot, laced with frailty, like stuff that actually gives extra points of value. Because if it's just a generic +3, like it does not matter. So, oh, I feel so bad. So our opponent comes in for 15, and they're gonna rank raises up to 17, and I'm just gonna immediately get disrespectful, like, so anyway, I'm also blocking for 17, and our opponent gets stuffed again. What deck can get 17 thrown at their face and leak 0 damage? Mind you, I didn't even have equipment. Didn't even have equipment. Like, the Azalea is literally in shambles right now. They have 15 cards left to kill me. They just can't. And the issue is, I'm still coming in for 2 and 2 every turn. And, like, now I'm seeing my 7s. So now I can block with 2 cards, send 7. Oh, that's cool. You wanted to send 11 at me? That's, like, really nice. That's really cool, man. So, yeah, I'm just going to take 8. I'm just going to take 8. And ask how your day's going. So, 2 damage. Not that much, I promise. I'm just going to piss you a few times. Yeah, right? You're not going to block? Yeah, that makes sense. Oh, you're at 9, right? Alright, so, would you like to go to 2? Would you like to go to 2, possibly? That feels cool. Oh, nice inertia, by the way. And take 4, go to 5, and, you have 11 cards left to kill me. Sorry, 10 cards left to kill me. Good luck. Alright, you Azalea'd. You did it. Alright, Deadeye. Boom. +3. Let's go. 6 dominate. On hit. Reload. Sick. Sick. Alright, you're going to deal 3. You're going to be able to strip a card in my hand. You're probably going to take the red Raging Onslaught. What else would you take? Would you take a blue? Absolutely, you would not. Oh, dude, another Bolton Shot? Dude, is it going to have plus? Yeah, you know what? Yeah, you know what? I'll block. I'll block. That's fine. I'll only take 1. Because no matter what, pistol. And 2 and 2. And our opponent literally can't block anymore. Here's what. Let me explain why our opponent cannot block anymore. And why this game is legit over now. I am at 10. I have more health than you have cards in deck. You have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You have a total of 8 cards to do 10 to me. 8 cards. I don't know what his pitch stack is at this point. I should be paying attention to his pitch. But I still have 20 left. There's still D-Reacts in here. There's still block throughs in here. I think there's even a sigil. So like, let's just lowball it. Let's say there's 2 D-Reacts that are 4s, so it's 8. Let's put the 1 sigil, so that's 11. And then that's what, 3, so that's 17. And then that means there's 17 3 blocks. Do you really think you can chew through all of this with 8 cards? Your only shot at this point is to like play like 2 buffs, give it +6, send like a 5-spot arrow for like 11. I can only give you like 1 card, so I take 8, go to 2. Then you have to hope I somehow have a muscle spasm to where I'd somehow just start going like this and accidentally click pass turn. Then you just do it again, and then I'm dead. So we're rooting for the muscle spasm here if we're Team Azalea. Or game loss, or like just Marinette goes down. Because now you're at 1, and you can't take a single point damage, so now you're blocking. So this needs to do like 50 damage. You need to be able to send 13. If you can send 13, you're there. We'll just ignore this thing right here, but in that case you have to do 14 damage. Dominated. Oh no, that's a 6. Oh well. Oh, you can't do anything else. Well, that sucks. Opponent says good game. Alright guys, eyes on the chat. Oh yeah, when your opponent wants to enable the chat. Alright guys, eyes on the chat. Here we go. Opponent, I don't understand, and I say, what's up? Here we go. Here we go. This is such a strange deck. Like I said, this is literally a known quality at this point. But Cook, I guess. And that's mine. I'm just making sure. He says it feels like dash without the dash. Yeah, I mean, I also don't know what that means, but Cook, I guess. And I respond, it's been a thing since Crew, which it has. It was actually a very dominant deck for a while. It's just not popular anymore. And most people find it boring. All truth statements. And I don't face much dash. And I said, yeah, you shouldn't. Even Hyper Dash, you should not face a lot of Hyper Dash either. She's extremely mid. This is me being honest about the deck. And then, look. It was kind of annoying to face. Ladies and gentlemen, we have our hero here that literally got to play nothing but 5-card hands, dominating for 17. And it was just like, yeah, dude, your deck's annoying. I just swung 17, and most decks would just get fucked, and you just didn't get fucked, and I think that's annoying that I didn't fuck you. It's just like, all right, bro. And you literally could have just pitch stacked. See, I need to face a control dash. I need to play a deck and play against control dash, and this deck is quite beatable if you understand how to fight it. Honestly, there are some times that the dash will still just win. Just because it maths better than you. Come on, guys. Azalea shouldn't have lost. All Azalea had to do was pitch stack. Keep the threats high. Because once you see me go through half my deck and I don't establish an item, you can assume I don't have another item. I don't know. I hope you guys actually enjoyed that. This was a 2-hour art award. Jesus Christ. I don't know what you guys did to deserve this. But, if you guys enjoyed this and you guys learned something, please comment down below what you guys learned. I'll try to start doing art awards again. They just are very time consuming. As you guys can see, this one's 2 hours. But I'll do my best. Like I said, if you guys enjoyed, make sure to like, and subscribe, comment down below what you guys want to see next. It's been your boy Siphon from Siphon TCG. I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.